Kevin Costner's 1805 Live benefit was designed in the simplest, most direct way: help the county's first responders, fill the air with live music, enjoy the ocean breeze, keep the dress code loose and cowboy casual: jeans, boots, hats, a sweater thrown over the shoulder instead of black tie. It was one of those nights that didn't need chandeliers to shine. The real weight came from handshakes, from baskets of donations, from the quiet thank you of a community gathering for its own. On such an evening, the arrival of California's most scrutinized couple might have melted into the background of good deeds. But the story bent a different way. Prince Harry took the stage to present an award, while Meghan remained in the shadows: no microphone, no speech, only the role of spectator at the wings. And it was this silence, more than any words she might have spoken, that became the headline. The scene, in detail, unfolded like this. The location, a coastal estate. The stage, low, almost backyard-sized. In front, volunteers in t-shirts, sheriffs, firefighters, guests in relaxed Western garb. Into this natural setting stepped Meghan, in a sleek sleeveless navy dress and pale pumps, looking as if she had walked out of a cocktail catalogue. Not scandalous in itself, a woman in a dress at a fundraiser, but alongside cowboy hats and work boots, the Polish began to stand apart from the story. The mismatch in tone was the first note older audiences caught instantly. The moment called for a downshift, and once again she was pushed up toward pose, toward the camera, toward I'm here. Then came the sharper contrast. Harry was called to the stage. His role was clear: former soldier, patron of veteran and service causes, presenting thanks to first responders. Microphone, short remarks, handshake, all within expectation. In past appearances, such moments often turned into mini-shows, Meghan stepping in to share the applause, to take the stage alongside him. This time, there was a pause. She stayed off stage. The camera lingered on her face, the fixed smile, the overeager clapping, the slightly taut effort to keep face. Instead of the usual duet, it became he in frame, she at the edge. For those used to seeing them as a two-microphone act, the split rang loudly: only one mic, and this time it was not shared. Online, some called it a microphone ban, others a rare show of restraint by organizers. Either way, to a 50-plus audience, it looked calmer and more honest than any press release. A charity stage is not a talk show set but an evening to honor service, where the stars are the names read off the department's roll of honor. In the past, the couple were accused of pulling the blanket of attention onto themselves. Here, the direction shifted: light on the Hanovers, the pair's faces in the margins. And that shift of optics only made Meghan's lacquered composure stand out more. Surrounded by authenticity, her camera-trained smile and perfectly held pose squeaked like a patent leather heel on grass. The dress code sealed the contrast. Just hours before, news feeds had been filled with images from a Windsor state banquet, where tiaras, orders, silks, and protocol belong by definition. Santa Barbara spoke another language: denim, suede, cotton, a leather belt instead of velvet, a step across lawn instead of a carpet. When the language of the lawn is answered with Instagram cocktail, the older viewer asks the simplest question: did you come to help, or to impress? At fundraisers, modesty of form impresses more than any designer label. To his credit, Harry played the part correctly. Open neck shirt, dark trousers, no tie. His speech may not have been Ted-polished, but it was on point, short, unpretentious, with direct thanks. The couple together, however, looked out of sync. One adapted to the format, the other seemed still dressed for another stage. That, more than anything, is why Meghan's silence became the story. Not because she was slighted, but because, for once, the event was not about her, and that, paradoxically, helped the evening. Recent memories sharpened the effect. Those criticized visits to disaster zones, when catalogue-style poses amid ashes were faulted as staged. Against that backdrop, restraint reads not as punishment but as precaution. Organizers wanted the next day's talk to be about totals raised and gear purchased, not about coats and makeup. Keeping the microphone with the one build in the program was precisely the simple step critics had long asked for: less ego noise, more substance. Older audiences picked up the subtler cues too. Knowing when not to enter a frame. Knowing not to stand in the center if you are not the honoree. Knowing not to turn thank you into a solo number. That old-fashioned sense of proportion is what earns respect. Hands kept low to applaud others, eyes meeting those of honorees, one step back so the decorated faces fill the shot. These are not nitpicks, they are the very language of such evenings, and older viewers read them fluently. Wardrobe matters as well. Stilettos are beautiful, but grass is not a runway. A stable heel, soft leather, fabrics that don't gleam under spotlights would have harmonized better. A simple leather belt would have blended more easily with a neighbor's cowboy hat. Small adjustments, but they add up to the impression of being one of us in the company. At charity events, those who adapt to the space, not demand the space adapt to them, always come out ahead. Could it have been done better? Certainly, and without rejecting cameras. 5 short Instagram posts telling the heroes' stories, the 911 dispatcher who took 100 calls in a night, the paramedic back on shift after injury, the officer's widow supported by the fund, the rookie firefighter buying gear with his grant, the rescued schoolboy now volunteering. Add a single photo with the foundation director, one with volunteers, captioned with results. We raised X dollars, funding Y equipment for Z department. No palace parallels, no contests of glamour. For older audiences weary of compare the incomparable, such clarity would have been a breath of relief. In that light, Meghan's silence would not be read as exclusion but as good direction. When it isn't your line, the best line is none. Of course, the media habit of framing everything as a duel remains. Every tiara on Catherine is spun as a challenge from Montecito. Every new shade on Meghan's hair is parsed as a signal. But the dual format is suffocating. Viewers over 50 no longer want scoreboards of smiles. They want clarity: who benefited, what was purchased, who was supported. Once that answer is given, comparisons lose meaning. Windsor remains Windsor, Santa Barbara remains Santa Barbara, each with its own music and timbre. The online reaction proved the point. First came the jokes: Meghan silenced, sit down, Meghan. Then the more considered voices, finally a stage without a sideshow. And soon after, the practical demand: numbers and addresses, please. How much was raised? Which departments will receive it? What's being bought? That is the window where the couple could earn respect without caveats, by shifting the talk from who looked better to who benefited more. Rehabilitation, if that is the goal, comes not from clothes or microphones but from checks and signed delivery slips. And Harry? His imperfect speech worked in his favor. The stumbled words, the pause, the plain thank you all carried more weight than a flawless oration. People who have lived through countless fundraisers know the price of a human voice. Had his partner matched that tone, no gloss, no overpoise, just the same humanity, the effect would have been stronger still. For perhaps the first time in years, the evening stagecraft pointed them in the right direction. When you stop being the story starts to work. The conclusion is simple. No microphone was not punishment or intrigue. It was about fit and measure. About keeping the spotlight where it belonged on those honored that night. In such evenings, short speeches, sturdy shoes, muted colors, and long lists of gear purchased resonate louder than the most perfect photo. If Meghan truly wants to fit these occasions, then the bench on the sidelines is not humiliation but instruction. When the cause is louder than the frame, it carries farther, and in charity, the language of substance will always outlast the language of gloss.